Okay, I have no idea how this is gonna go, because I have to do a lot of shuffling around to do this video. So I've been in a nice chat with one of my friends on Messenger, and we were talking about Monorail, and some people have heard all my stories about Monorail, and I don't want to bore you. So this is my Monorail story. So if you heard it before, you don't have to listen. So I guess we should start at the beginning. I'll talk about this in a second. I've already talked about it before. So if we go back to here, to the 6990, this is the very first Monorail set that I bought right off the shelf. It was released in 1987. I would have been in my 20s, and I had disposable income. And I already had Classic Space, and I had a Classic Space layout in my basement on top of the ping pong table when I was living with friends. So I bought this in a store right off the shelf. It was, I think, I won't say it wasn't my first Futuron set, but I was still buying Classic Space sets. So I didn't own too many Futuron sets. But I bought this because it seriously is the coolest set they've, well, I won't say that because I think the RCX was the coolest set they ever released, but the coolest space set, even if it's Futuron, which is not my favorite theme by any stretch. But it is, honest. I brought it home and I ripped the box open and I put it together, and it stayed on my ping pong table forever. I couldn't afford two at the time, or I would have bought two. But what happened was that as soon as I got this set, I started waiting because I knew this was going to come out. The accessory set. So this is the first accessory set I got. I guess it was released in 89, it says here. So I waited 2 years and I bought two of these right off the store shelf. I think they were $79.99 a piece at the time. And I think I had to go to Sears down at the Center Mall to get it because it's the only place that had it. So I remember that. I walked into Sears and I bought two of these and I brought it home. And I, of course, by that time we were not living, my friends and I were not living in the house anymore. And I think I had my little apartment in Stony Creek. And I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and one bedroom was for sleeping, and the other one was for Lego. So I had another space layout in the other bedroom, and so I had even an expanded layout. No switches yet, because I did not buy this guy, the airport shuttle, because I wasn't in the town. I guess it wasn't released yet either, looking at the date, 1991. I guess the 6990 was released a bunch of years before the airport shuttle. Oh, that doesn't even come with switches either. So I always thought it did. Doesn't matter. I never bought it, so I didn't care. But when this one came out, I guess the same year as the space shuttle, the airport shuttle, just by looking at it. This one came with switches, so I bought two of these off the shelf when they were released, and I think they were 100. They weren't $79.99. They were actually more expensive than the other accessory pack. I remember that. But again, I bought two of them, so I had two accessory packs each, one 6990 Monorail, and I had a huge layout in my house, and I was very happy with it, and it was up for a long time. I will say that. It was together for years when I lived in the apartment. The only time I took it in was, I think, when I moved out. This is when I knew, though, I learned at this point that the switches were temperamental, and there was no internet at the time. So I couldn't, talk to all you smart people out there about how to fix switches. My apartment building, was relatively old. I did not move into it a long time before, but it was relatively old. And they were replacing the balconies in the middle of the summer. And the balconies are concrete. And so what they had to do is they come up with, scaffolding and a lift truck, whatever. And they basically jackhammer off the old balcony, creating a lot of concrete dust in the middle of summer. And I have no air conditioning, so my windows were always open. So I come home from work one day. My windows are open on the 5th floor, and there's concrete dust all over my room, not my bedroom, my Lego room. So I was quite chagrined, is the polite way of putting it. Everything was dusty and everything was dirty, but there was dust on the switches. So the switches stopped working very well, and I washed them and whatever, but the grit was already inside. And it actually was at that point that I took one switch apart to see how they worked. So one of the 3 switches I got, because of course I bought 2 accessory packs. So, and I realized there was no way for me to fix this stuff at the time. That was rule number 1 when I said no switches and layouts that you're going to run for an extended period of time. You know, I can go into, I learned that at our first bunch of shows with Jeff and I doing our OBB classic space layout, that switches are just a pain to use, a pain to maintain, and they will kill your battery faster than just having solid loops with no switches. Like, you can use a switch as long as it's not, you know, your train's not switching it back and forth. Like, you can use a switch as a straight, or you can use a switch as a curve, as long as it stays that way for the entire show. Or if you wanted to move trains from track to track manually, I've done that before. But if you want the end loop and double back on itself, don't do it at a show, because you will have a bad switch by the end of the show, from my experience, because there's a lot of dust at shows, people walking back and forth, a lot of dust and dirt and whatever, and it gets into your switch. Anyway, enough of that. I've talked about that before. So anyway, I got the 6990 the day it was, well, not the day, but the year it was released, in 87, and I loved it, and I bought 2 accessory packs. And that was good enough for me for the longest time, until I met RTL Toronto, and we started doing more things than just robot shows. When we starting to do train shows, and then I started the classic space layout. By that time, I had acquired more monorail, as I said in other videos, garage sailing, flea marketing, excuse me, whatever else. So I had a little bit of monorail coming in, but I never gave up on monorail. As a matter of fact, I mentioned my 1 year of bidding $75 each time on the Galaxy Explorer. I did the same thing for monorail for a while. And so what I would do is I would look at the lots on eBay, and this is back when it was cheaper, obviously. And it was about when the threshold for me was $10 per straight. So each straight piece, each one of these straight pieces was $10 to me. It was $2 for a curve. Curves are the cheapest thing on the planet back then. A quarter straight was, you know, a couple bucks. Where the money came really bad is these half curves. And at the time, I would say they're going for about 15 to 20 a piece on Bricklink. I don't know what they are now. I haven't even looked at it in years. But these half curves that came with the switches, very expensive. And the switches were expensive. And I hate switches, so it didn't matter to me. So what I would do is I would add up the number of straight pieces times 10. I would add up the number of short straight pieces times 2.5. The curves times 2. And these half curves times 15. And so if it was $150, I would bid $150 if that was the number. It doesn't matter what other pieces came with it, because I didn't care about the other pieces. If they're the supports, I have thousands of them. I don't care. If it was just a track, that's perfect for me, because that's what I wanted. And so I would say I won over a long time. I won 10% of the bids. Again, I bid one number and that's it. If somebody outbid me the first second, that's fine. If somebody sniped me at the end, don't care. I won a lot. 10%, which to me is a lot. And I started getting a lot of monorail coming to my house, which made me very happy, because it expanded my monorail collection. The other thing that happened, well, I'll get into this first. So I've shown you this video of these are the monorails that come to the show with me now. So this is the drawer, and I keep it inside the house. And I mentioned the other video because there's copper on there, and copper doesn't like going from hot to cold. And right now my garage is cold, so for the rest of the layout stored. So this is stored in my basement underneath my Lego desk. So I'll put it back there. I just wanted to show you, this is some of my monorail track. And I'll put this away. When Jeff and I were doing shows together, he would supply the monorail, and I would supply the monorail. Again, we don't have the largest collections of monorail, but we have a little bit. And I would imagine some of these monorail pieces are still Jeffy's. I haven't checked them all. So this is my one tote of curves, and it used to say on it, oh, there's right there, monorail curves. So this is straight, all 100% curve tracks. Now it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, we'll say 12 curves high by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, 12 times 6, whatever that is. I'm not going to do the math. And my half curves are still in here. So these are my unused half curves. And that's what this whole bin I think some of the bottom ones, oh, I'm missing them because, oh no, you can still see some of these have copper on them already. If I dig down, let's see, so some of these are still copperized from when I did it before. Those are the tracks that did not come with me to New Brunswick, that show a bunch of years back where all the copper got bubbled. So I still have some copperized curves because I didn't have to remove them because I have enough copper curves to last. This is my one bin of straights. This one's gonna be harder to count because it's kind of a hodgepodge. But this is straight tracks as well as ramps. Now, Janie will have a story that she always got annoyed with me. That was my phone falling out of my pocket, which is a huge surprise. Janie always said, every time I did a show, and this was the ramp piece, why don't you, because this is probably one of the ramp pieces that was in my house because the layout, again, was in the bedroom for a long time. And I had a nice big window in the bedroom that allowed all that concrete dust to come in. So the sun was on the layout for every single day of its life. So this is probably mine. This is probably my fault of this one. I mean, I'm not saying that I've, oxidized all my, I don't think this one was mine, but I'm quite sure that this ramp was one of my originals that came in a 6990. I really am. So, but again, so I've started copperizing again. But so this is a nice little ramp piece. So, but most of that is just straight, and I think I got about a dozen ramp pieces in there, each up and down, top and bottom. And I got a ton of quarter pieces on the end here. So let's get into that. How I even expanded my Monorail collection more is well after we started working or doing RTL Toronto shows. Our friend Mike Shields opened up Lasting Toys in Mississauga, bricks and mortar, because he had a brick lane store for the longest time, and he wanted to. Oh look, there's my monorail, my first mock monorail. Brought it out here. So he wanted to. He had a bricks and mortar, and he asked for if anybody wanted to work weekends with him. So I said absolutely. You can pay me in Lego. And my friend Mike, as I started working for him for a bunch of weekends for months on end. We were cleaning up in the back sometimes, and there was, I don't know if this is going to be a little obscure, but there was a Lego basic set box released around the same time, maybe a little before, obviously a little before. The 3033, I think, was a purple bin. I think some people still use them for storage. Mike had three of those bins full of monorail track. And he acquired them because, of course, he had a Lego store. And he told me that his original plan was to have monorail hanging like a foot down from the ceiling and just have a monorail train going around his store. And I thought, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And he goes, well, I can't. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, the lawyers tell me that if the train falls off the track and hits a kid in the head, I'm going to lose everything. Like, even if the kid doesn't even get hurt, it doesn't matter. Mama's going to sue and you're going to lose the store. So he says, the lawyer advised me not to put the monorail track up hanging from the ceiling. I said, yeah, I hate the world. Because I would love to see that. I actually had ideas when I was much younger that when I started having kids, I would either do a monorail loop foot down from the ceiling around the perimeter of the room, or a train track doing something like that. Now, I think Josh is a little old for that now. But I had that idea when I was younger. If I ever had a kid, that's what I would do. I would have, I would say, Mr. Rogers' little tram going around the room. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. So Mike didn't do that. And he goes, oh, Dave, I've seen your shows and the monorail, and you love monorail. How about you just buy these three bins off of me? I said, Mike, really? You can put them on your Bricklink store. He said, no. You want them? I'll give them to you for what I paid for them. So Mike Shields sold me his monorail track, 3 bins, 33 totes of monorail track. And I said, oh, Mike, that's the sweetest thing in the world. So that's how I acquired. I would say that increased my monorail collection by 1/3, which is fantastic. Thank you, Mike. It was very sweet of you. And this is my last bin of monorail track. This is the odds and sods. the switches, which I do not use. so there's I don't know, dozens of switches in here. And I mentioned that I never bought the airport shuttle, but I have about 3 of these things from acquiring Monorail on the internet. About 10, 12 motors, and lots of base plates. But of course, the base plates have the bogies removed because, of course, I make my own bogies now, and I did other videos about that. So if you want to see that, just go on my YouTube channel. Now, what I do have, and this isn't all of them, but we'll start pulling them out, is I keep on mixing and matching these guys. Because as anybody who has Monorail knows that there's some long ones and there's some short ones. And it makes a huge difference. So I keep this stuff because I love doing shows and I love the monorail at my layout. And I have 4 monorail loops in my layout right now. I think Jeff and I did a show where we did 7 separate monorail loops. Right now I have 4, and not one motor has died yet. Even though we've done, I won't say hundreds, but over dozens of shows. And the monorails run the entire weekend without fail. It's fantastic. They're utterly fantastic. They're bulletproof. And I remember going on Bricklink years ago because I wanted to take one apart. And I think I showed you a video on that. And it's not that one. I wanted to take one apart to see if I could quote unquote jury rig it to have the pickups in the bottom, because again with the copper, and if I put it right on the motor, then I don't have to worry about running a wire to it from the other bogies. I could put, and I did it. Yeah, it's in the other bin. I'm not going to pull it out now. You can watch my other videos for that. But anyway, and a guy piped up. He said, I can't remember where he was in the world, but he said, "Oh, I have a broken monorail motor. It doesn't work anymore." I said, "Oh, great. And I'll pay for it." He goes, $10. Perfect. So I spent $10 on Bricklink for a broken monorail motor that was not working, and he gives it to me. And what I did is I drill out these 4 little pips here, these little white pips here, and that just allows the top to pop off. Now you have to be careful, okay, because there are wires going from here to the circuit board inside, but this will pop off. This whole bottom will pop off, and then this gear stays with the bottom, and the rest of it goes with the white. It's kind of neat. And so this is a piece that slides back and forth, and there's a little hole in the plastic, and I wish I could take it apart, but I can't, because again, it's back in there on the shelf, and I didn't think about it. But you can take these apart relatively easy. Again, you can drill these out, you can glue back when you're done, or you just press fit it back in, and that's all I've ever done. And it stays together. And so I took the broken motor apart, figured out how it works, and I said, I can use this. And then I put the thing back together, and it worked again. Like, it did not work when he shipped it to me. He said it was dead, and I believed him, right? The motor was not spinning at all. This gear wasn't spinning. And this gear goes to another gear at the end of this axle, which then meshes with the gear coming off the motor, because the motor is basically right dead center coming down. So that's how all that works. And if I ever take it apart again, I'll show you. I'll make a video about that. But pretty simplistic. And this thing just basically moves a slotted steel back and forth between contacts on the circuit board. So this is forward, this is neutral, and this is backwards. So when it hits this, and all of a sudden it's going this way, and if it hits it again, it's going to go this way. That's how it works. And if it's in the middle, it doesn't move at all. Because there's electricity getting from here to the motor. So there's a little bit of solder from this piece onto the circuit board, and that's it. It's really cool. It's really minimalistic inside, but still really awesome how they got it all working properly. But as I say, it didn't work when I got it, and I drilled out the holes, and I put it back together afterwards, and it worked again. Then it's still working to this day. So $10 for a monorail rotor that was broken, and it's working again. I cannot complain about that. So I can build the airport shuttle. I know I have all the pieces for the airport shuttle because I have the base plates and I have the curved white pieces and blah, blah, blah. I have the little stickered pieces and because again, I've acquired Monorail for the years. I believe I could actually probably build 2 airport shuttles. I don't know where the other red one is, but I know I have another one somewhere. There's another motor. Oh, and this is one of, okay, so this is a little thing, and I did a whole video on this earlier, and I'll just really recap here. This is how I make my own bogies now. So I take a piece, I cut this piece off of the back of one of these guys. There's another one. Monorail motor. Anywho, so I took a Dremel and I just cut this piece off of another Boogie. Another Monorail base plate. And so it will just interface with here, and then you just build this into whatever you want. And as I say, the Boogies that come off the bottom of these things, that is a regular half pin Technic pin. So you just get a Technic plate, 2x4, 2x6, 2x8 Technic plate, and you put it on there, and you Bob's your uncle. You can build whatever you want on top of it. So this one has some overflow of my half curves, obviously, you can see overflow. It has a lot of my switches, and if it says DKP, yes, I wrote on mine, because again, Jeff and I were doing shows together, and these are probably VW. So this is Jeffy's. That's probably why they're in here. So I have to give them back to Jeffy. So these 4 pieces are Jeff Van Linden's. I have to give them back to him. DK, blank. These are acquired eBay purchases, and I never taken them off. I don't know why, but that's not original at all. It might have come with a 6991. I don't know. That one definitely does not a 6991. So yeah, the switches, that is ugly. And this is what I did with some of the switches. I just took the switch off and I just used this as a half length track. And here's the rest of it. So and they just clip in. They're just clippies. Where'd that piece go? I lost it. Doesn't matter. So I got a bunch of these. It is easier sometimes to use a half length track instead of a quarter length track. And as I say, there's just clippies down there. Clip, 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 clip. You don't break it. You just push them in and it pops off and you can put them back together later. So this is my odds and sods and where I keep my spare motors overall. And so the last note, the last story, and I've said it a few times, but I'll just regale you of my favorite story ever when it comes to I have so many favorite stories. But I was in, looks like when I took apart. The first one I took apart that wasn't working very well. Actually, no, this one's not even mine, because mine worked afterwards, and this is broken, so this is probably an eBay lot. But yeah, that one's pooched. There's no slidey switch on it. There we go. So you can see, oh my God, see, that's not going anywhere. they get so much dust in them, right? There we go. So you have to fiddle around with them after a while, and yeah, not good for shows. And so the train will get stuck there. Like, yeah, you can't push on that right now. Or there, that one works, but this one doesn't. And I gave up on them. Do not put switches in a show. Have them at home or have them manual so you don't use them, so that they're not automatic. Use it as a straight, use it as a curve. Don't use both on a show. Anyway. So this is like, I guess 2 years ago now, because last year was all COVID. So a couple years back, Sandy and I went to Valley Village one day, and I walked back to the back wall where they have all the little baggies, and sometimes they have Lego, and I was just looking for Lego, and at the bottom in a big bag, there was actually 2 bags there, was a 6991. Now I already had the ability, I've actually built it a few times, the 6991. I never bought it new. I will say straight up, I never bought the 6991 new, but I had bought the actual 6991 set at garage sales, at flea markets, 6991, it's labeled right on it. But I never bought it new. So I'm at Value Village the other year, and there's a baggie full of Lego bricks. And I'm going, there's Monorail in that bag. And I've never, ever seen Monorail at Valley Village. It's like the oddest thing. Like, my brain wasn't computing it. And the bag was $19.99. I'm going, something's wrong here. This is like Candid Camera. This is a setup for me. Some of my friends are here. They're going to laugh their butts off. Right? So they're hiding behind a rack of clothes or something like that, just snickering. So and Sandy just happened to walk over right when my brain's trying to process what I'm looking at. She walks over and she stops too, and she goes, "That's Monorail." And they go, "Yes, it is." And she goes, "Why haven't you touched it yet?" Because if somebody else walks by, they're going to take it. Oh, right. Brain kicks in. I grabbed the 2 bags. And I'm looking through the 2 bags, and it's the entire 6991, except for the big black raised base plate, which I have like 7 or 8 behind me. So that was irrelevant. But every other piece was in there, plus extra track. Not like an accessory, like there was 4 extra straights, a few extra curves, and some quarter pieces. I was not demonstrating of any other specific set or entire set, but it had some extra monorail track. And so I brought that home, washed it, obviously, except for the motor, and the battery box. And it's in here. So again, 6991, almost entirely complete, except for the base plate, and it's in here. So I've been extremely fortunate when it comes to monorail. Again, working for Mike Shields that time. Thanks, Mike. Lasting Toys. Getting 3 bins of monorail, 3 totes of monorail. Buying it off the store shelves originally when it was released, the 6990 and the 2 accessory packs. I bought 2 each. Never buying the airport, never buying 6991 off the shelf. Spirius, I would say I was in my dark ages of buying at that point, especially for big sets. That was somewhere in the 90s. I was not buying new Lego sets. I bought the smaller ones, yeah, sporadically. I bought some Spirius off the shelf, but I never bought the big one, and I didn't have to because I already had a ton of monorail at home. But now I'm happy with what I have now. It's not the biggest monorail collection in the world. It really isn't. I've seen some of my friends that have massively huge monorail collections. I'm looking at you, David E. Yes, I am. Love that guy. And a lot of people over in Germany and the rest of Europe have huge monorail collections. But I have what I have. There is a little tangent story. I've been doing a monorail layout at BrickFet, at every BrickFet I went to, and I made some friends there. And one guy said, "Oh, the next BrickFet, I'm going to bring you some monorail." And that, of course, that was a BrickFet that I didn't attend. I have a box of monorail. I said, "Hey, I'll pay for it." I said, "No, don't worry about it. I want to get rid of it." And so he gave it to Janie, and Janie asked me, and I have enough monorail. She doesn't. So I don't know what she did with it. I don't care what she did with it. It's hers. Because I have lots of monorail. It's not like I need more. If I come across it, I'm going to get it. If I see it at the thrift store, I'm sorry, I'm buying it. I bought that 6991 at Value Village for $19.99. Of course I'm going to buy it. Why wouldn't I buy it? There's no earthly reason why I wouldn't buy it. Am I going to use all this monorail, these bins of monorail here? I can't say definitively. I will say that right now, our layout's smaller than it ever was. It's 5 by 7.5, but Jeff and I did a 10 by 18. 10 foot by 18 feet. There was like 800 feet of monorail track in there. Like, there was a lot of monorail track in there, and I was using switches in that just to make it complete. I mean, again, the switches were not moving back and forth during the show at all, because again, I hate that. But I used a lot of monorail, and maybe at some point in the future, I will make another big layout. And I have the pieces for it. I have the pieces I want. But that is, I think, between this bin and the other 2 bins, the curves and the straights, and the shelf of monorail that's actually being used in the current layout. Oh, and the pieces that are built into the buildings of the layout. So they're not too many pieces, a bunch of curves, like a dozen or maybe 2 dozen curves, more than what I just showed you. It's all the monorail that I have. And there was a whole video I did of the monorail trains that I have in that shelf that I use at the shows. So that's all the monorail I have. And really, unless, again, I come across something at a Value Village or at a thrift store, I'm going to buy it. And I've said this to friends, close friends. If you need track, I will sell it to you at whatever the going rate is, or even cheaper. Like, I do have lots. I don't need it. I don't need to keep it. I want to keep a lot of motors because the motors might wear out, whatever. But if you guys, oh, here it is right here. I have one of my modified right there. Look at that. See? This is what I do. Yes, I take Dremels to Lego. That wasn't my cleanest cut. I will be the first to say that was not pretty. I'm sorry. I usually am prettier than that. But this works. This works on the copperized track. and the Lego train controller. You just look, train controller. It's like, seriously, yes, you can go with the all newer stuff, power functions and all that stuff, and all my friend Jason Ellerman uses all that stuff. I just use this copper track, and a train controller, and I walk away. That's it. Or again, as my other video showed, I am actually now controlling this with the RCX, and you cannot make me happier at all in this monorail hobby than controlling a monorail with an RCX. It's just awesome. It made me so happy, like, because the RCX for me will always be the single biggest, most wonderful thing Lego's ever put out by far. Nothing really comes close to it for its versatility and its functionality and whatever else. I adore the RCX, and the fact that I loved classic space since 1978, and I get to put RCXs in my layout and have it do stuff, just so terribly happy. Like, I'm not just building robots for robot competitions or GBCs. I get to build RCXs into a classic space layout. Oh man, just goodness, just absolutely fantastic. Anyway, you can see all those videos somewhere in my YouTube stream. I'm having fun with it, and I have enough pieces where I can actually do this without worrying. And again, if this doesn't work, I take all this stuff off, and who's going to see that stupid little hole? And you can put it back into the layout as with a battery box. Like, sure, knock yourself out. I want to get away from battery boxes, and I'm having fun doing it. So you guys can yell at me all you want for quote unquote wrecking a monorail base plate. No, I don't care. It's not wrecked. It's not even close to wrecked. I removed this, and this is going to function as it always did. That's why I am cautious. I have not wrecked, I have not destroyed a monorail piece where it cannot be reused as the monorail piece as it was intended. And if you guys are that picky about it, don't watch my videos. I've had a few videos, a few replies to my, oh, you wrecked. No, I didn't. It's not even close to wrecked. There's a hole in there. It's not pretty, but you can build around it. You can't see it. You put the minifig here, like it says, like right in the 6990. I mean, you look at this guy. I think this is a better one. So this one I used the slot car pickups. I didn't like it as much because you can't go backwards because these things get caught, and then it just makes a huge bird's nest down here. But look underneath there. You can't even see the hole. Can't even see it. So hush. If you think that is destroying Lego, I don't even talk to you. There are some people who love this hobby and want it to be pristine. That's perfect. That's the way you want it. I love you for it. I've heard stories about specific lugs in the world that you cannot go to their meeting place without signing a waiver saying you will not get your fingerprints on stuff. Are you kidding me? Fine. I love you for it. That's your group. If you and I are at dinner, and RTL Toronto dinner, and I bring this thing, take it apart. Look how I built it. Knock yourself out. I'm going to put it back together. Here, get your smudgy chicken grease fingerprints all over from Swiss Chalet. I will wipe it off later. Don't do it at a show, because the show has to stay working for everybody to see when you leave my area. And this is why I went off on a bit of a rant on the last video that I didn't upload. I refilmed it without the rant. But this is why stanchions are a necessity at a show, to keep people away from the layout. Because it's not that I don't care about people touching my stuff, because if I know you, touch away. Ask me, we'll take it apart. You can look at how you did it. But when you have the 4-year-old kids pushing the trains off the track, like at this specific show, this was the first Family Fun Fest we did years ago, right? And this was a very limited, this is like a 6x5 layout. It was only the tower. It was only the tower and one monorail loop. This guy, this guy right here, so, kind of coincidental. And there was a little kid, little boy. Every time this loop came around over here, he would push it off. He thought it was a game, and it was smash on top of this guy and smash pieces, and pieces would go flying, and I put it back together, and he did it 4 or 5 times. And every time I said, well, I don't know the kid's name, I'll say, hey, Timmy, stop that. You're wrecking the layout. And mom's there talking on her phone, just oblivious to what little Timmy's doing. And I go, excuse me, ma'am, your kid's wrecking the layout. Well, we paid our money to come. Look, lady, I don't care if you paid your money. I didn't pay money to be in here. I'm here to show this to you. So you step back, take your kid to step back. And I was polite for the first few times. Like, this is at the end of the conversation. Like, excuse me, ma'am, your kid's wrecking the layout. Can you please move him? And she's ignoring me. She's on her phone, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me, ma'am, your kid's wrecking the layout. Can you please move him? Blah, blah, blah. Look, lady, your kid's wrecking the layout. Can you please move him? And she didn't. And I will be the first to say that was wrong, 100% wrong, because you can't do this. But thankfully, I didn't get, sued or anything. But I picked Timmy up. I picked him up behind his arms. I picked him up from behind, and I put him over beside his mom. And I said, Miss, please move along. She lost it on me. I'm going to go tell the manager, ma'am, the worst thing you can do is tell me to go home. I'll pack it up right now. And the manager didn't come over. Actually, I know the guy who was running it. It doesn't matter. But that was my worst incident ever. I've had some nice stories. We did, when I finished building the wooden boxes and we were doing those 2 Mississauga shows, there was a cute little girl, 5 or 6 years old, and she was just enthralled, just absolutely enthralled by the layout and all the other Lego that we had on display. But she was watching the train go by, and there's, if you look at the layout, there's a habitat over here now. And she felt sorry for one of the little minifigs because he's standing on the platform all by himself. And so surreptitiously, without me seeing her, she grabbed 5 or 6 minifigs from the layout and she put them on, because I looked, not that I'm like this, but there's a minifig missing from that area. Oh, some kid grabbed it and walked away. And then I look around and I say, wait, there's 6 minifigs on the habitat level and they're all congregating. And she came up to me and she goes, I felt sorry for Mr. Red Space Guy because he had no friends there. I don't care. That's sweet. That's so touched. But overall, stanchions or we have fences when we do the Family Fun Fest now, and the fence is 6 feet away from the layout or 4 feet away from the layout, so you can't actually touch the layout. But what happens invariably, and I have no problem with this, and I actually love when this happens, I'm having a chat with whomever, some guy, some girl, whoever, who remembers when they were kids and they said, I had that set when I was a kid. Not that set, but the mock. Or, there's only set that's in here. That set way over there. 918, my favorite. I had that set when I was a kid. And then we have a chat, and 10, 15 minutes, he's just like, or she's just so enthralled, and we're talking about our childhood with Lego, and she goes, can I come in and take a picture? Absolutely. Come over, hold on to the space set, have your husband or wife take a picture of the layout behind you, you holding your favorite space set, knock yourself out. Come on the other side of the fence. If you want to do that, if you want to be nice and you're so enthralled or excited and enthusiastic about the layout, the show, the whatever, and you want to talk Lego, I'm going to talk your ear off and you can talk my ear off. It's like when I used to do car shows years ago and I was friends with somebody. I won't say we were dating. I was friends with somebody and she made her own car. Her dad was a mechanic, and I would hang out with car shows. We would go to car shows, and we'd bring our little lawn chairs, and we'd be sitting there behind the rope, and people would be walking up and down the grass there between the cars, and they'd come to me, 72 Barracuda. Now, look, not mine. Not mine at all. I don't fix cars. It's her car. No. Yeah. Like, okay. I'm not, what, really? I'm telling you, I did not lift a finger to make this car. She did it all. And she walked me through it because she showed me before the show and we were seeing each other for a bunch of months, and she went through the whole engine and what she'd rebuilt and whatever. And I'm understanding automobile mechanics enough to know what she's talking about. And I'm excited for her. I have no interest in doing that, but her enthusiasm for her hobby rubbed off on me because she was just so passionate. I had to order this part from California. It took 6 weeks to get here, and when I was waiting for that, I rebuilt the heads and the gasket and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, this is great. And torque wrenches, and I have some, honest to goodness, good questions. What's the torque? How hard do you have to torque those screws down? And I know where the bolts are, right? And so we had a great time. And so when we're at the car show, we're behind the line, sitting by the car, and people walk up to us, and I said, talk to her. And there are some people that just, oh, this is 72 Cuda and blah, blah, and they talk and talk and talk. And she goes, oh, and the guy goes, can you take a picture? And he's asking me if I can take a picture of him and her in the car. Perfect. If she wants it, sure, absolutely. It's that kind of mentality. It's the idea of we're putting our time into a show, right? We're putting our time into a show. We're not getting paid overall. We're not getting paid. We're there as exhibitors. And we're doing it because we love the hobby and we love, quote unquote, showing it off to the public. And we want to have a good, honest, wonderful conversation with the public about our hobby. And 99.9% of the time of all my shows, it's been utterly fantastic. Utterly, beautifully fantastic. Guys, girls coming up to me saying, oh, I had that set. I got it at Christmas of 82 and blah, blah, blah. And mom was there and dad was there and we had a turkey dinner or whatever. I don't know what happened to my Lego set since then. That's usually what I always hear. I don't know what happened to my Lego collection since 1982. Right? I get that. It never happened to me, but my Lego set wherever I went. But they're just nice and they're decent and they're wonderful and their enthusiasm and my enthusiasm rub off on each other, and we talk about the sets that we had and the adventures that we had and the wonderful times we had, and they are inspiring. And so when they say, oh, can I get a picture? Absolutely. And if you want a close picture, you can come on this side of the fence. But if you're bringing little Timmy there and you're just going to ignore him so he can run around and wreck everything, go away. I don't need you. I don't need you near me. And if you want to call in the manager, look, lady, you go right ahead. There's no sweat off my nose. Besides these stories that I like to tell, I have no consideration for you at all. I'm sorry. I really don't. I don't care who you are. I've had that. Do you know who I am? Don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. It doesn't matter to me. There's nobody above me. There's nobody below me. We're all equal. We're all people. We all get up in the morning and we all do what we have to do to get through a day. You can have a good $1 billion and you get $0. It doesn't matter to me. If you want to be pleasant and wonderful and easy to talk to and enthusiastic about my hobby, that's why I do shows. If you don't want to be enthusiastic, that's again too. You don't have to like my hobby. You don't have to like my hobby. Nobody in the whole planet has to like this hobby besides me. I know people do, which is great, but I'm still going to do this hobby. I did this hobby through high school. And besides Jake and Pete, that was it. Right? So I've been here where I've been in my 20s and in my 30s before the internet. I thought, and I've said this, and I don't want to go off in this little tangent now because I said it before. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only adult fan of Lego. I didn't even know that word at the time, AFOL. I thought I was the only adult fan of Lego on the planet. And the only thing, and yet I didn't care. I still play with Lego. I still built. When I got my first digital camera, I took a billion pictures of what I was building at the time. 1998, I was building, and the internet was around, but I hadn't even thought about there'd be Lego on the internet. Like I'm still to this day just stunned that I didn't even come across LugNet until well after I bought my RCX. I don't know. Anyway, that's gone 15 minutes on about nothing. Didn't talk about Monorail at all. So there we are. This is my entire Monorail collection. I got 3 bins here. I got a shelf, and I got some pieces that are actually built into the layout. And that's all the Monorail I have. Quote unquote, that's all the Monorail I want. But should I find more? And I know it's not going to happen anymore because it hasn't. Monorail's stupid expensive now on the interwebs. People know what it's worth now. But I still will build with what I have here. I have enough to keep me happy the rest of my life. I can almost guarantee it. So, and I have enough to, quote unquote, give to friends, should they request it, and will not be an issue. I won't miss it. A few pieces here and there. I have enough to not be selfish with it. I have right now, my layout is exactly the way I want it, 5.5 or 5 by 7.5. We got it down to under 2 hours to set up and under an hour to take down, which is completely ideal. The wooden boxes are working out perfectly well. I may, and I've already built this into the system, I may go to 5 by 10. Add another 2.5 or two more, one actual train two train modules onto the end, to make it longer, to give just more space, to give more space for space, stuff, because it looks good, the layout as it is right now, but it looks compressed. There's no room to do stuff. There's no room to explore. So I want 2 modules, 2 train, the old PLTC, whatever, Pacific Northwest Train Club. 2 more train modules on the end. So it'll be 5 by 10 with hardly any monorail and hardly any big buildings on it, so that you can see them exploring and digging, maybe put a crater where they're digging for minerals, whatever. I'm thinking about it. So it wouldn't be a huge building, so it wouldn't take up a lot of room in storage. It'd be like another half box, basically, because, you know, that guy takes up 2 boxes, right? So if I put and there'd be no extra monorail really, so it'd be like just space for space to do stuff with. So it looks like the guys are doing something, and I always like it when the guys look like they're doing something. Oh wait, I should just do this while we're talking, because look, monorail. So, monorail. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's 46 minutes. You guys all stay safe, take care. Any questions about my monorail collection, just go ahead and ask. I don't know a specific number of pieces I have. I don't know if I'm gonna retro bright the really bad ones, because I mean, that is just bad. It's just really bad. I might try retro bright, but I don't really need it to right now because I have other pieces. So ask away if you want. If you have any other questions or things you want me to talk about online, I love to talk about. As you can see, I like talking. So you guys all stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you on the other side.